Today, you are here for the Ready for Impact showcase. We have fantastic teams here who are ready to show all of their innovation and all of the incredible work that they are doing today. So please give them a big, warm welcome. First up, I'd love to welcome, with a sea of clapping hands, please, our friends over at NACSA.
Hi everyone, Namaste from Nepal. I am Poonam Sherpa, Business Development at Dasta, and along with me, I have my colleague Uttam Pudasaini. He's a product lead at Dasta. Let me share a story from Dodara Chandani municipality, a disaster-prone city in far west Nepal. In 2023, Dodara experienced a flooding, and though it was not a huge flooding incident, 8 people lost their lives and more than 500 people were impacted. Another flood hit Dodara Chandani, and this time it was the highest rainfall in 78 years. Imagine 624 millimeters of rainfall in a single day. But fortunately, there were 0 casualties. And this was possible because our solution Dasta was implemented under the leadership of local government.
It is an integrated modular platform that is designed for effective disaster preparedness and anticipatory action. If we have better access to satellite datasets, we can have better hazard model, whether it's flood or landslide. We have been able to create impact in Nepal and Bangladesh. Dasta has been used to conduct 30,000 risk assessment surveys. 80,000 risk communication messages has been sent using Dasta. And then the dataset in Dasta have been utilized for evacuation of 250 people before the disasters. So join us in scaling Dasta so that we can reach million more like Kalawati and then strengthen preparedness, protect lives before crisis happens.
Our next finalists, Marta, Carla, and the team at the UN's IOM help prepare communities in the Caribbean needing shelter when hurricanes hit.
Our region, Latin America and the Caribbean, is the second most disaster-prone in the world. A well-informed evacuation before a disaster hits can be the difference between safety and a tragedy. The Latin America and the Caribbean pre-evacuation platform, it brings together satellite imagery, forecasting models, and government data to improve actionable information on specifically evacuation centers, location and capacity, coordination mechanisms, and also historical data on past events. Together with other organizations, we've built strong partnerships, in particular with national and regional disaster agencies. We also, thanks to the NASA Lifelines program, we have held trigger discussions in Panama City through 2 workshops with humanitarian actors. And this discussion helped us recognize the platform potential and importance of continued investment in preparedness and anticipatory action.
Hi, everyone. I'm Danielle Dillon. I'm from the Draper Richards Kaplan Foundation, and we are a global venture philanthropy firm that finds, funds, and supports early-stage, high-impact social entrepreneurs. So thanks, Maria, for presenting and sharing all of this. My question is, what partnerships do you need at the local level to be able to react to improved real-time data on evacuations? And have you started to build out these partnerships?
We think is super valuable from local actors and the communities is to understand how they want to be informed and what is the process in which they would like to be informed about evacuation.
Please help me welcome our next team joining us from Goma in the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
Thank you. I'm Dieudonné. I'm from Goma, a town in the eastern part of the DRC. Born in a family of 8, my dad relies on farming to provide resources and education to our family. Yeah, so in this region, we've been facing different these conflicts for the past 20 years. 85% of households faced food insecurity, while 3 out of 10 households were found in very severe food insecurity situations. So this is where AgriSight comes in. So you can think of AgriSight as a watchtower in the sky, where satellites give us images of every field, even in places too dangerous to access or to visit. AgriSight is about real impact on real people. Also, our mission is to empower communities and protect livelihoods. So with AgriSight, no farmer is left invisible, and every hectare of land can be a lifeline, not a liability.
I enjoyed that presentation. Thank you. And I really enjoyed the beneficiaries. The work that I am shepherding right now is focused on building a global field boundaries data set. So would access to farm field boundaries data be beneficial to your program and platform?
We definitely welcoming real access to the field data, because that's what will bring the change.
We're heading across the Atlantic again, back to Brazil, where we've been working to better prepare cities to deal with evolving threats related to climate change and improve resilience.
And today I will tell you a very short story on how I believe geospatial data and collective science is having a huge impact on how the global south and tropical cities can fight and adapt and face the climate emergency. This beautiful picture that you can see is São Sebastião. My mother used to live nearby. As you can see, it's very dense, crowded urban type, climbing up the steep slopes of the Serra do Mar mountains. Moving forward to February 2023, there is a historical heavy rain in this specific city, in this specific region, with more than 600 millimeters in less than 24 hours. So you can imagine how much water fell off. And in the right picture from Planet Images, you can see the giant scars that were formed after several landslides. That extreme event killed 65 people at that time. And by 2030, we expected to have 2 billion city inhabitants that will be living in hazard-prone areas, most of them in the secondary cities, global south, and in very crowded areas like slums. So it's clear that using geospatial data, we can understand risk before threat happens and plan for them. So here is where MapBiomas kicks in. So we produce open and accessible land use and land cover data. We put together this first version of what we are calling MapBiomas Urban Data Platform. So at the local level, for example, 7 cities that I know of already used MapBiomas data, MapBiomas urban data, as one of the sources to produce their own climate change adaptation plans. So we have this established network of partners that it can make it happen, and we have a clear vision of how we can make it happen.
Thank you. It's super awesome. On the new country expansion, you sort of gave a dollar figure there, but I'm interested, like when you think of expanding into a country, what are your blockers?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Actually, I'm not making maps for other countries. I'm just making maps for Brazil, and the maps for Bolivia, Venezuela, and probably the Democratic Republic of Congo, they need to be done by the local teams. We need to transfer knowledge. So the choice to which country we are going depends on several factors. So we need to have connections there. We need to engage people to establish the platform there. We need to guarantee there's some kind of money going there to keep it running.
So, hi everyone, I'm from Mercico Ventures. We are a family of funds, and we invest and provide grants for solutions for climate resilience in emerging countries. So very excited to hear all of these. Julio, I'm very interested in what you were saying and showing.
Now, next, we're heading over to the Center for Geospatial Analytics at North Carolina State University, where they're developing the state-of-the-art flood maps for communities who are looking to protect themselves and build resilience to hydromet hazards. So, Mirella, the floor is yours. Over to you.
So hello, everyone. Thank you for being here and supporting our work today. My name is Mirella Tulbure, and I'm a professor in geospatial analytics at North Carolina State University, where I lead the Geospatial Analysis for Environmental Change Lab. And I would like to start today by asking you to take a minute to think back to one of the most important moments in your life, the moment when you are ready to make your first home purchase. You move in, and the first time it rains, your property gets flooded. And this doesn't just happen once or twice, it happens every single time it rains. Now, this is just a heartbreaking example of a rural community in Georgia, but flooding impacts communities around the world. In fact, nearly 1.5 billion people are impacted by an increased risk of flooding, or nearly 20% of the global population. In the US alone, we know that about 2/3 of all declared natural disasters involve a flooding event. The good news is that satellite data can help by helping us derive flood extent maps. However, despite the fact that satellite data provide systematically consistent and equitable coverage, there are still certain challenges associated with mapping floods. We collaborated with colleagues at NASA Goddard, and we were one of the first adopters of their new harmonized Landsat Sentinel-2 dataset. And you can see that we can pick up more ephemeral short-lived flood events compared to two sensors, which you can see in the middle. This is just an example in 2022 of a massive flood event that happened in Pakistan. And I'm zooming into the area highlighted. This is what the flood event looks like in optical data, in radar data, and this is our mapped flood event with a random forest approach. We believe we can develop high-resolution, accurate flood extent maps in different flooding situations. So we can capture riverine, coastal, as well as pluvial or rainfall-driven flooding, which can help understand the immediate impacts of flooding events. And this is it from me. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mirella, for sharing all of this. I think, yeah, I'm excited about what you're building because there's so much possibility and direction that you could take this.
But we're ready for our next pitch. So we're going to head back across the ocean to a group who are trying to better understand issues stemming from displacement in humanitarian crises. So let's welcome Pratik and Antoine.
Hello, namaste everyone from Switzerland and Nepal. So every year, tens of millions of people get displaced, and nearly 10 million were forced to flee by disaster, floods, droughts, and landslides. But this number, what is important to keep in mind, are not telling the full story. When people get displaced, it is also important to understand that they often lose access to schools, to protection, clinics, food, and so on and so forth.
So Usafiri is not just a map or a visualization tool. It is a participatory-based GIS platform that simulates disaster, forecast population movement, and analyze service pressure. So as we wrap up, we leave you with one clear message. Like every $1 invested in early warning saves $9 in response. And with anticipatory action, we can reduce costs up to 40%. With Usafiri, we are building a faster, smarter, and more protective humanitarian system designed by local actors and stakeholders for meaningful local impact. We are ready to scale.
This is a great platform, and thank you so much for this presentation. How do you get all the right stakeholders onto a single platform so that there's coordination?
To continue to build this platform with local partners. So we have strong ties with the government in Nepal, in Kenya. We want also, and that's why we participated in the NASA Lifelines.
My name is Guilherme Ablanovski. I'm a geospatial data specialist with the UN SGSN. So to give you a little bit of context there, since the turn of the century, the world has experienced over 8,000 natural disasters and more than 50 active conflicts. And in many of these, entire cities will be reduced to rubble, and streets will be left with debris and bodies and toxic materials. And this is not, very much in everyone's minds when we think of disasters and conflicts. But before we can, build back better, we need to think of how we handle the clearance. How do we clean up these cities? So this is what UNEP comes in with the disaster and conflict branch. The team helps countries quantify, manage debris that comes from those situations. In 2017, we were having the conflict in Iraq. The team produced debris assessments, and with that, we were able to showcase, to even show the path for a 25% reduction in cost, which means $10 million in this case, a 50% reduction in time, which is 4 years, and a 50% reduction in disposed materials. So 3.5 million tons that are not going to a disposal site, a dump site, and that are being reused for reconstruction in the same place where it has been generated. We tend to use SAR imagery to approximate ourselves to what's the damage situation in these places. So the way we do this is we filter the regions we are interested in by spatialized conflict data, like the ones that ACLED or the Washington Institute produce. And then we'll take Sentinel-1 SAR imagery And we will use two combined change detection algorithms, which are very much foundational models for change detection. So to go back to my initial statement, what we are looking for is to be able to cover more of these natural disasters or conflicts. Thank you very much.
I'm really pleased to introduce our next partnership. It's a powerhouse combination beaming in from the Rockies. Welcome CU Boulder and Better Planet Lab along with Amnesty International.
And our idea today is that there's so much remote sensing data. These incidents should actually never happen again. We know that bringing together a powerful global network and vast amounts of data can actually empower environmental defenders along with frontline and fence line communities to protect their human rights to a healthy environment.
Today, we present Environmental Rights Watch, a system designed by Amnesty and the Better Planet Laboratory to democratize and speed up action on human rights abuses. Environmental Rights Watch is a collection of AI-driven geospatial agents that work alongside human rights activists, defenders, and lawyers to help recognize and prevent environmental disasters.
So let's take a look at this tool. Say I want to prevent another village like that in Kazakhstan from similar health disasters. I could quickly type into the prompt to figure out if there were other communities that could be impacted by nearby fossil fuel facilities. Here I find the location Yulubishi. It's a remote community close to oil and gas fields with a school very similar to the Berezovka school.
And using segmentation agents driven from image embeddings, we can quickly retrieve the footprints of facilities in proximity to that school. And using NASA's data, including the VIIR's nighttime lights, we can also identify which of those sites are active. This data can in turn be processed further to identify the facilities that are the most likely polluting the worst. By querying additional APIs, we can synthesize near real-time and recent historical emissions data on air pollutants from tools building on NASA's EMIT, Iris, Planet's Tanager, and Sentinel-5 missions on a range of pollutants currently not available in any one platform. However, we did not just stop with this one village. Integrating epidemiological data and meteorological data, we can identify the air pollution footprint and a number of other communities at risk for Amnesty's on-ground efforts. And using a new AI-driven waterways detection dataset developed by us at the Better Planet Laboratory, we can also identify communities at risk downstream for informing grassroots data collection efforts on water pollutants. At the Better Planet Laboratory, we estimate that 49% of the world's population is exposed to at least 3 environmental rights violations, such as those from air pollution, water pollution, and an unsafe climate. We also know there are additional polluting facilities. Yeah. And that putting data into the hands of the vast network within Amnesty and others can help speed up action and prevent disasters before they happen. But we need your help to turn this vision into a reality.
Hello, my name is Ryan Parks, and I'm a PhD student at Duke University.
Hello, my name is Sharif Islam, and I'm a postdoc at MIT.
This initiative represents an innovative collaboration among Duke's Planet Lab, MIT's Space Enable Group, Improper, which is an NGO I founded, and Health and Harmony to implement and iteratively evaluate sustainable, practical public health interventions within communities in the Manumbu Special Reserve. The region around the MSR contains the highest incidence rate of malaria in the country and suffers from frequent tropical cyclones. We work with and employ people living in the MSR. I've spent over 5 months here over the past 2 years and will be returning this fall.
A prime example of this successful partnership is our recent project through Improper, the NGO that Ryan has founded, where they have installed 60 rainwater harvesting tanks, is holding 5,000 liters of water. And this intervention provided clean drinking water to 3 villages. And we are currently evaluating this tank's ability to reduce the incidence of diarrhea.
Through NASA's Lifelines initiative, our integrated approach promises to substantially enhance local resilience to climate-driven health threats.
Great job. Yeah. I really like the localization and the community engagement and integration. I really like that. Thank you so much.
Next, I am pleased to welcome the Urban Malaria Lab at Loyola University Chicago. So let's imagine ourselves in Northwest Nigeria, where the team is using satellite data to help health officers control the spread of one of the deadliest diseases.
So welcome everybody. My name is Ifeoma Ozodiegu. So I'll start by laying out the problem. So on September 2024, water breached the Alao Dam in Maiduguri, Borno State. Maiduguri is located in Nigeria, and it submerged 15% of the city. By nightfall, 500,000 people were displaced, 37 deaths were reported, and nearly 7,000 shelters were damaged. This story is a snapshot of how flooding exacerbates malaria risk and health risk in general. In 2023, according to the World Malaria Report, 263 malaria cases were reported. 597 persons died from malaria. And the numbers that you're seeing for cases is an increase by 11 million from the previous year. I want you to meet Mr. at Nigeria's National Malaria Elimination Program. He is on the front lines of this issue. He leads analytics to support both resource allocation and mobilization. Unfortunately, malaria data in the format in which it's collected lacks granularity to capture risk in flood-prone communities. The malaria reprioritization tool, it helps users, non-technical users with limited technical skills to conduct malaria risk assessment, enabling them to integrate EO data and epidemiological data, including malaria incidence data, so that they can enable improved and timely resource allocation for flood-prone and affected communities. Our work has had extensive impact. It was used by the National Malaria Elimination Program in 2004 and 2005 to inform resource allocation for 43 million people, including those in flood-affected communities. This was the very first time flood risk was considered in national malaria decisions. I want to reiterate that no child deserves to die from malaria, and floods should not exacerbate malaria risk. So I ask you to partner with us to turn flooding from a trigger of malaria risk to a trigger for action. Thank you very much.
Next up, we're going back down to Mozambique again, where James and the team from Clinton Health Access Initiative are using satellite data to better anticipate and address health risks from cyclones before they happen. So James, over to you. The floor is yours.
All right, then hello and welcome, or benvindo. And I'm James Colborn. I'm a senior technical advisor for the Clinton Health Access Initiative. We'll go with Chai from here on out. So one tropical storm, that was all it took in 2023 to affect over 1 million people, kill almost 200, destroy more than 100,000 homes, 1,000 schools, and 100 health facilities in Mozambique. The World Bank alone mobilized $150 million for the cyclone described above. And given the number of aid agencies that respond to these disasters, they can also be incredibly inefficient, duplicative, and most relevantly, they unfortunately do not prevent negative impacts from happening in the future. Remote sensing data gives us the opportunity to identify communities that are most vulnerable to the health impacts of these storms, how many people live there, and what they need to build resilience to and help mitigate these health outcomes before the storm hits. Instead, what we are proposing is to forecast risk, and more specifically, the risk of outbreaks of malaria and cholera following tropical storms and cyclones. Think of this as sort of a fuse net for health type system.
Our last group here is a leader in global health. They've been assisting health ministries in tailoring interventions based on improved understanding of community vulnerability through segmentation.
My name is Anna Rapp. I'm joined today by my colleagues Michael Kalnoky and Daniel Helden from Sonder Collective. We're a group of researchers, designers, and implementers working on a novel global public health approach called Pathways. Imagine yourself in the seat of a decision maker at the Ministry of Health in a low-income country. You're harried, funding is scarce, your staff are stretched thin, and climate and health challenges are growing. Meanwhile, funders want more precision and accountability, and funding is getting even tighter. You need to prioritize. But how? Who's most at risk and why? What data would help you to make smart, targeted decisions? That's where Pathways comes in. Pathways brings together data and research to uncover the root causes of poor health and to identify effective solutions. We do this using population segmentation to group people not just by demographics, but by their shared drivers of vulnerability. We're already providing these data and the guidance on how to use them to decision makers in 7 countries. Pathways incorporates several dozen social, environmental, occupational, cultural, and other non-medical factors, which we gather in our own surveys or in broad population household surveys like DHS. We then categorize across 6 vulnerability domains and use these, along with mathematical segmentation approaches, which are already widely used in the private sector, to divide a population into groups or segments of people who are similar in terms of the drivers or the root causes of poor reproductive, maternal, and child health outcomes. The real power of segmentation, however, comes in its use. We're making all of this data available in a free digital platform so that policymakers, strategists, and implementers can more efficiently and effectively identify, target, tailor, and measure their health interventions. We're proposing adding multi-hazard climate models to capture a large range of possible environmental vulnerabilities. Things like floods, drought, food and water insecurity, heat events, extreme weather, wildfires, increased likelihood of vector-borne diseases, and air and water pollution. And here you can see the clear relationship between vulnerability and exposure to those heat events. To our knowledge, this kind of analysis, combining vulnerability to multiple health outcomes and climate exposure data, is the first of its kind in low-income settings. The barrier to effective climate and health response isn't lack of data. It's lack of access to the right data at the right time. Pathways can help change that. With your support, we can give countries the tools to better understand how climate affects health and what they can do about it.
I've got some exciting results, of course, to share. I also, of course, want to give a big shout out to all of our panelists. Thank you so much for all of your thoughtfulness, for sticking with us, for being willing to represent your organizations. Thank you to NASA for really making what we do here at NASA Lifelines possible. So to any of our NASA partners who are on the line, thank you, thank you, thank you. We'll be bringing the resources of NASA to bear, of course, in terms of data and tools. First and foremost, thank you, teams. Thank you, audience, for bearing with us. It's been a fantastic showcase today. If you're not already officially a part of the NASA Lifelines community, you are today by being here and joining us. But please sign up, stay tuned for all the incredible activities we'll have ahead. And for now, this is Rhiannon and the Lifelines team signing off.